Two quick things. Well, three. I'm expecting my all seasons solar cooker, I believe it's called. And today, I should get it today. And of course, with no sun. Two, my video about minimum wage. I'm not going to answer any comments. I'm just going to heart your comment. And the reason is, if you have an opinion that's different than mine and you put it in the comments, that's perfectly okay. That's what that's what that video's about. It's okay that we disagree, and it's okay that you put in the comments that you disagree or the reasons. And, I said my bit, and you can say your bit. And I don't need to reply to people who are, doing their half of the conversation, which is a reply. So that's why I'm not replying. It's not because I disagree or anything like that. It's just because you deserve to have your opinion be in writing. Just like I put my opinion in the video, you deserve your opinion. So anyway, a friend of mine did mention that my toes were twitching, and maybe some of y'all don't know, but I was injured pretty bad in a industrial accident a while ago, and it left me with a whole bunch of stuff that I have to live life around. And my toes twitch from some nerve damage that I got in that accident, and sometimes my feet twitch. I'm just glad it's not my hands. But anyway, if you see my toes twitching, that's why. It's uncontrollable. And sometimes they twitch when my back hurts really bad. And sometimes when my back's not hurting, they don't twitch. So I never know when they're going to twitch. And different positions of sitting or standing results in different parts of my body complaining. So that was what? 3 things? That was 3 things. Okay. All right, Sonny, I'm going to let you in.
Poser.
Yeah. You know what my wife's doing? What are you doing, hon?
I'm removing his music off my playlist.
Yeah. The little slap heard around the world.
Yeah, gone.
Gone. She's taking his music off her phone, and I don't have any of his music on my phone. But, yeah, we didn't watch the Oscars or nothing like that, but of course it's news.
Yeah.
And
The world's burning
right,
down.
the world is, on fire, and we have a complete imbecile that's like stirring the pot of misery over there and threatening foreign leaders, and then denying that he said that. Yeah,
That man made that speech, got up there and talk about love and respect and all that crap. But before that, he slapped a black man in his face. And he's all about taking care of his people. Yeah, okay.
And I got way more respect for Chris Rock than I got for Will Smith. Chris Rock,
because I think they staged it. I think it's fake. I think it's all a crock. I'm done.
Chris Rock took that. Well, it was a slap, and to be honest, it was kind of girly.
Yeah.
Didn't you think it was a little girly?
That was the first thing that popped in my head. Who does that?
Yeah.
What man slaps another
Yeah,
man?
I've never slapped a man in my entire life.
I never slapped a
Yeah.
person.
Never slapped a woman. I mean, I've never slapped anybody in my life. I've sure popped a few with a fist. But,
Pounded a little bit, but I ain't never slapped nobody. I mean, that don't even pop into my head. I can't believe
and
a grown-ass
seeing
man.
a grown man slap another man is just gave me the willies.
Yeah.
'Cause,
it looked way too rehearsed for me to even go to.
Anyway, talk about immediately snatching the attention off the imbecile in chief for a few days. This will be the thing. Even Newsmax this morning, that my last and final frontier of news, Newsmax was talking about it as if it's going to change the world and not Ukraine.
I don't want to hear another word about it unless they follow it up with hypocrite, because that's exactly what he was.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not important, but his acceptance speech at the Oscars was about love and spreading goodness through the land. Right after he slapped Chris Rock for telling a joke. I suspect that Chris Rock had no idea that, and I'm ashamed that I know these names, I guess because they're in the news. Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith's wife, has a disease called alopecia, which apparently is hair loss. So she just shaved her head, from what I understand. Shaved her head because she was tired of dealing with the alopecia. So I don't think Chris Rock knew that she shaved her head because she had a disease. So I don't, because otherwise, if he did, that's crossing a line, making fun of someone because they have a disease. I don't believe Chris Rock would do that. I like Chris Rock; he's a funny comedian, and so I think Chris Rock probably didn't know that she had alopecia. And I believe some of his jokes were on the spot, you know, just trying to keep the flow of the funny business going on. And otherwise, I don't think he would have made a joke about her shaving her head. And, you know, when they showed Will Smith, he was laughing about it at first. And then seconds later, he was slapping him in the head. So who knows? It might have been staged and it might be fake. I don't care enough to give it any more thought than that, but you can't avoid it because the news has dropped Ukraine for a little while, has dropped the blunders that our imbecile-in-chief has committed over there, and now they're talking about this insignificant little thing that's why I'm calling it the slap heard around the world. Anyway, that's all. See, here's another thing I saw that I think you'll find just as poignant as I do in this time. We had tornadoes come through our area. Well, the other day you saw the video of me and my wife and went over to Bev's house next door because she's a big, thick brick house on a slab, and they don't typically get blown away like mobile homes do. And Pat and his wife were there, and Billy, and anyway, it ended up being fairly destructive. And our local news interviewed a guy who lost his wife, had half of his mobile home was destroyed, and a tree landed on it, and his wife died. And he was sitting in a lawn chair out in his front yard in front of all this destruction. And, you know, it was a bit of a lengthy interview, and he was teary-eyed and talking about he didn't know how he was going to rebuild and how he was going to go on, and, you know, his life has completely changed. And the whole time he's talking, over his shoulder, his dog is in the sunshine, laying on his back, feet in the air, and nothing changed for that dog. That dog had sunshine and food and sleeping in a camper. He didn't care. The dog was just going on with life and living in the moment, because at that very moment the sunshine made him feel good. And you know, I think about my dogs. And they have no idea what's going on over in Ukraine, and they have no idea that Will Smith slapped somebody over a joke. And I am going to try very hard to be more like my dogs. Yeah, I'm still sitting here. I've been reading comments on my minimum wage video, and I'm really glad that people are taking enough interest to leave their own comments. And generally, I'm not replying. Everybody has, like I say, everybody has an opinion, and you're welcome to put it in the comments. I answered three. Two of them were about the minimum wage. And again, I think I have encountered well, I made it on minimum wage, so everybody else should suffer for a dehumanizing amount of pay for an enormous amount of work because I did. And I'm going to give you an example of how I encountered this very thing as an owner-operator. The first time I encountered it was I was leasing my truck on to a company called Morgan Drive Away. And the guy giving the orientation was talking about these trailers that when he was an owner-operator, he was now working in the office, but when he was an owner-operator, he would jump at the opportunity to grab these trailers from a manufacturing facility in South Carolina and drag them down to Florida. It paid far, far less than the standard mileage pay, but he kept saying, but it's all miles. And after about him saying that 3 or 4 times, the amount he was talking about hauling these trailers for was just a little bit over your per mile cost. And so I said something, and I was already at the point where I was having some real second thoughts about working for this company, because it just didn't seem like a husband and wife team were going to be getting anywhere near the miles they needed to make the amount of money they had to have every month. So I said to the guy, what does that mean, it's all miles? He said, well, you just run back and forth. I said, well, running back and forth is going to cost you the same amount in fuel as getting paid more per mile. How I don't see how you're justifying working harder for less money. Where does this make sense to you? It makes no sense to me, and that would be a load that I would turn down just because there's people like you that would be glad to have it. It makes no financial sense. It's completely illogical. And of course he got infuriating mad at me. He was so mad that he couldn't justify the math when I pointed out to him, what you're saying is you should work harder for less money because this working harder happens so much more quickly than, finding a load where you're not, granted you're sitting, but you're sleeping. You have a Qualcomm. You're picking loads that pay what you want to earn versus jumping on these trailers that are paying nothing just because you don't have to wait in between loads. It makes no sense. Do the math. So we didn't work there but 2 or 3 months, and it was a big mistake. And from there, we went to another company called Heartland, which is to this day the worst job I ever had. Heartland Express out of Coralville, Iowa. Hold on, my wife's gonna come by with a lawnmower, so it'll be loud for a minute. Well, anyway, you got paid a certain mileage for everything in the United States, except when you crossed the Rockies and went west, you got paid less. And it's far harder driving over that way. You use more fuel. Hold on. Okay, I'll cut to the quick part of it. Somebody had a death in her family, so my wife and I had to take their trailer and pass it off to somebody who was willing to cross the Rockies and suddenly be on the West Coast working for far less money, where the fuel cost at least 50 to 60 cents a gallon more. Because I'd already told them, I do not go past the Rockies if you're going to give me less money for spending more on fuel. I'm not taking it. It just doesn't make fiscal sense. So I get to this truck stop where I'm supposed to meet this guy on my side of the Rockies, and I drop the trailer, and he won't unhook from his trailer. I'm supposed to take his trailer. So he comes over and he's angry at me that I won't take the trailer over the Rockies. And I explained to him, I said, I'm not working for less money. It's, I forget what to pay. And this is a long, long time ago when it was 77 cents a mile. I said, I am not working for 70 cents a mile, 77 cents a mile, and spend more on fuel and put more wear and tear on my truck climbing mountains. I'm just not going to do it. It makes no sense. Well, this guy went and got a notebook. He was so mad that he wouldn't unhook from the trailer that I was supposed to take. And when he comes back, he's on the side of my truck, spitting mad, showing me facts and figures, how much money he's made. And I said, dude, you're not going to convince me that working for less money, working harder is the right thing to do. And that's what we're up against. We're up against people that think, well, because I did it, everybody else should do it because I'm willing to work for less money. And I was able to find a way through life on less money. I don't want anybody else to have more money and not suffer like I did. And that is just a human mentality that I don't think people realize. You know, you may be bitter about the suffering you had to endure, but does it make you feel better about your own suffering that you had to endure by insisting other people suffer too? I just don't get that. You want to see a bug? She's juking and jiving. Got her goggles, her mowing goggles on. I'm probably not going to talk anymore about minimum wage. I'll tell you what, I'm shocked, really shocked, and disheartened, and kind of makes me realize how governments are able to convince people that an entire race should be murdered and imprisoned and burned in crematoriums, and I see human nature is evil, and you have to struggle your entire life to overcome that part of your humanity or lack of. And I see in the comments that I'm getting the impression that people, by and large, think that because they suffered, everyone should have to suffer. And it's blowing my mind, to tell you the truth. Maybe I'm built different, I don't know. But it's kind of scary to think that there are so many people out there that perhaps had to endure a life of suffering before they finally made it through that and had a better life, that they don't feel good about their own suffering unless other people have to go through the suffering. That's what I'm getting. And again, we're all people with opinions, and mine's no more valid than yours. So if I do mention your comment, it's not because I want to argue with you. It's just because your comment caused me to have put some more thought into this. And the latest comment was a fellow from Wisconsin that said he didn't know why I was so concerned about this, because they have warehouse positions that are paying $20 to $25 an hour. There is nowhere in Louisiana or Texas you could ever go and make $20 to $25 an hour as a warehouse worker. It does not exist here. But on the same hand, a house that may cost where you live $300,000, $400,000 would cost $100,000 here. So you can't base what you think minimum wage should be, or that I shouldn't be concerned about people suffering on minimum wage because nobody's paying minimum wage where you live. This is a huge world. This is a huge country. And I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I talked to a forklift driver at a company that I was delivering to in LA, that area. It was Hawthorne, actually. And, I got to know him well enough that I asked him what kind of money they pay in here. They said $10 an hour. And I said, how on earth can you live on $10 an hour here in California? At $10 an hour, you can't even afford a place to live at $10 an hour. And, rents are $2,000 and $3,000 here. It might be $700 or $800 where I live. So, expenses are different everywhere. Minimum wage is the same everywhere in this country. And granted, maybe some people some companies have figured out that they're not going to be able to find employees at $7.25 an hour, which is what minimum wage is. I hope you can hear me over the wind. It's getting pretty windy. But I'm really amazed at the amount of people that are willing to justify other people suffering at such a pittance of income that they can't have what you and I and every other person would consider a decent life. The ability to keep a roof over your head, have electricity, running water, and buy food, and be able to get back and forth to your job in a safe manner. So I'm going to stop talking about it because it has really just shocked me, the amount of people that are so convinced that everyone deserves to suffer. For one, I mean, everybody's got their own reason why they shouldn't do better, because they didn't, or they suffered in their life, or at one point in their life they only made X amount of dollars, so everybody ought to experience that. I'm blown away, and I won't talk about it anymore. I don't want to have these feelings of disbelief and shock that there are so many people that are quite willing to accept the suffering of others simply because, number one, I think there's a lot of people that base their success on how many other people have it worse than them. And a lot of people think that I suffered in my early life, and because of that, I want everyone else to suffer too and not have it better than I had it. So it's kind of making me have a real sick feeling in my stomach to realize that there's so many people that are, I think, are otherwise, 100% perfectly fine people, but that is a part of human nature that I see people not able to get past. The fact that in order to feel good about their own walk in life, which may have been difficult, it requires other people to suffer the same degree.